Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. I am so thrilled you're here today because honestly, we are looking at something that affects almost every single one of us. I mean, if you've ever tapped a screen to have a meal magically appear at your doorstep 20 minutes later, you are definitely going to want to pay attention to this. Today, we're unpacking the newly released meeting minutes from the FSSI. That's the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. And let me tell you, this document is an absolute game changer. It lays out these sweeping new rules that are going to fundamentally upgrade how we order food online. We're talking about a massive shift toward total transparency in the industry.
But before we get into the nuts and bolts of all that, let me ask you a pretty direct question. Do you really know where your online food order is coming from? I mean, think about it for a second. You see a beautiful, mouth-watering picture of a burger or a salad on some generic app listing, but where is it actually being cooked? For a long time now, the explosion of mystery cloud kitchens and dark stores has left us, the consumers, pretty much in the dark. Well, those days of super opaque back-end operations, they're about to get a major transparency overhaul, and that is exactly what this new regulatory document tackles head-on.
Okay, let's dive into this real quick by defining a crucial piece of regulatory jargon you're going to hear a lot. Whenever you hear the acronym FBO, it just stands for Food Business Operator. Now, in the context of these new mandates, the FSSI isn't just talking about your neighborhood mom-and-pop restaurant. No, they are specifically targeting e-commerce FBOs. So this is a really wide umbrella. It includes the giant delivery platforms themselves, the hidden cloud kitchens, the dark stores holding all the inventory, and of course the partner restaurants. Basically, everyone in that digital food chain is officially on notice.
So here is our quick roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll cover enhancing online food safety. Second, tracing food to its source. Third, clear expiry and shelf life. Fourth, banning misleading health claims. And finally, number 5, strict enforcement and deadlines.
All right, Section 1, Enhancing Online Food Safety. So this all stems from a totally pivotal meeting held on June 25, 2026, which was led directly by the Chief Executive Officer of the FSSAI. The entire purpose of convening this hybrid meeting with e-commerce food platforms was to seriously strengthen food safety oversight across our favorite delivery apps. The COO really emphasized the growing, massive role these platforms play in food distribution. And the core goal here isn't just to create more bureaucratic red tape, it's a highly targeted move to safeguard consumer interests, boost our awareness, and mandate strict compliance. The whole era of e-commerce platforms operating with loose safety oversight, that's ending. Enhanced transparency and traceability are now the absolute baseline.
Moving on to Section 2, Tracing Food to its Source.
You know, it's one thing to say you want traceability, it's an entirely different thing to actually engineer the mechanics to make it happen. So, how exactly is the FSSI making sure we know where our food comes from? To get this, we have to contrast the front end with the back end. On the front end, you have those highly polished consumer apps, right? Beautiful interfaces, seamless scrolling, it all looks great. But the back end consists of warehouses, dark stores, and cloud kitchens that we as consumers literally never see. Well, the FSSI is now demanding that this hidden backend be dragged entirely into the light. Every single associated operational unit linked to an e-commerce entity absolutely must now be mapped on the regulator's FSCO's portal.
Let's break down how this actually translates into concrete action for you and me. First off, there is now a mandatory display of the FSSI license or registration number on all receipts, invoices, and cash memos issued to us online. So you will finally be able to verify the authenticity of a food business straight from your digital receipt. Plus, like we just mentioned, all those warehouses and dark stores have to be mapped out, and the platforms themselves are required to set up adequate monitoring mechanisms specifically for cloud kitchens just to ensure they're actually complying with food safety requirements. This completely rips away that veil of anonymity for digital-only restaurants.
All right, Section 3, Clear Expiration and Shelf Life.
Think about that moment right before you click Buy on an app. We've all bought packaged items online, right? Only to receive them and realize, oh great, they expire literally tomorrow. Well, the FSSA is putting a hard stop to this. Now platforms are advised that they must clearly display 3 critical pieces of information before you ever even make a purchase. That's the date of expiry or use-by date, the shelf life of the product, and the batch number. And this info has to be presented in a super consumer-friendly manner right on the app interface. So no more gambling on whether the packaged goods you're ordering will actually last through the week.
Section 4, Banning Misleading Health Claims.
Now, this next directive tackles what is perhaps the most aggressive part of these new rules, a massive compliance crackdown on deceptive marketing and those fake health labels that have just run rampant on delivery apps.
The first part of this wave really focuses on operational safety. Platforms have to conduct periodic reviews and strengthen their safety practices across the board. Crucially, the e-commerce platforms themselves are now directly responsible for effectively monitoring their partner restaurants and cloud kitchens to guarantee the delivery chain stays safe and non-contaminated. And hey, if something does go wrong, the FSSI mandates the timely and effective resolution of consumer grievances related to food safety. So the apps can no longer just pass the buck to the restaurant when you complain about a safety issue. They own it now.
But here's where it gets really strict on the marketing side. E-commerce FBOs must prevent deceptive representations entirely. What you see on the app must be exactly what is on the physical product label. To guarantee this happens, platforms must upload clear images of all sides of the product label so we have complete 360-degree access to the info. Plus, the name and description of the food on the app must perfectly align with what's declared on the actual packaging. So that whole era of using a deceptive, hyper-edited stock image to sell a subpar packaged product, yeah, that's officially over.
I want to share the exact phrasing from the source document here because it's pretty powerful. The FSSI states they are, quote, ensuring that no health claims, nutritional claims, or other misleading claims are displayed on e-commerce platforms to be included along with name of the product, end quote. I mean, this is an absolute zero-tolerance policy for fake health hype. You can't just slap the word healthy or immunity boosting into the product title on the app anymore unless it is strictly 100% backed up by the actual registered product label. And this extends to special dietary categories too. Before a platform can categorize or list a product under claims like organic, vegan, or similar labels, they absolutely must verify valid certification and supporting documentation first. You can't just casually tag your food as vegan to get more clicks. You actually have to prove it. On top of that, the FSSI is strictly banning the use of 100% claims in product labels, advertisements, or promotional content, so no more of those vague 100% natural or 100% pure claims that are really just designed to trick the algorithm and trick us.
Finally, Section 5, strict enforcement and deadlines.
All of these rules sound absolutely fantastic for us consumers, right? But as we all know, rules are only as good as their enforcement. And the FSSA didn't just hand out polite suggestions here. They handed out authoritative mandates with severe consequences for anyone who breaks them. The CEO was crystal clear on the penalties. Failure to comply with these regulatory requirements doesn't just mean a little slap on the wrist or some delayed fine. It was emphasized that any non-conforming food products identified on these e-commerce platforms shall be immediately delisted by the concerned platform. Immediate removal. Boom. Gone. And it doesn't even stop there. Penal action shall also be initiated under the provisions of the Food Safety and Standards Act. They are not messing around.
So the really crucial point here is understanding the timeline for all these changes. The vast majority of these transparency rules, specifically paragraphs 1, 2, and 4, which cover traceability, mapping, and that big ban on misleading claims, those are to be complied with immediately, based on directives that were already communicated on July 19, 2024. The only exception is paragraph 3, which mandates the display of the expiry date, shelf life, and batch number on the app's consumer interface. Because that requires a specific tech upgrade from the platforms, it is slated for implementation a bit later, on October 1, 2026, subject to approval by the Food Authority.
The meeting wrapped up with a collective commitment from all the stakeholders to strengthen their compliance. But the real question I want to leave you with today is this. Will these strict new transparency rules finally secure our trust in the booming e-commerce food ecosystem? By forcing those dark stores out into the light, demanding real proof for organic claims, and putting that FSSI license right there on our digital receipts, this document fundamentally shifts the balance of power right back to us, the consumers. So keep a close eye on your food apps because they're about to change for the better. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time as we continue to break down the information that shapes our world.